All right, hi everyone. This video is going to take my example of using drunk mapping onto a scale with a probability generator and encapsulate that patch into something more condensed at the main level, but still has all the pieces. So encapsulation and max is using subpatchers within patchers. You can do this two ways, and I'm going to show you both. So I'm going to go in, unlock, and the first way, just to actually start, you can hear that it's the same what the basic patch does. So I'm going to edit, go in, and create a patcher object. So over here, type an N for new. P creates a subpatch within a patch. This is a patcher object. And then I'm going to give it a name. So I'll call this first part probability. Hit enter, and a window opens up that I can edit in. I can put that wherever I want to go. I'm going to keep it a little bit off here so that I can get to it once I click back over here. I'm going to take this probability section, on up until here. I'm going to use shift and deselect this input so I can keep my toggle, my speed input, and my percentage of probability outside of this. But I'm going to copy this main section here that does the probability functioning. In fact, I'm going to cut it and put it into here. I'll expand this a little bit. So what I had in here is now in the subpatcher. I need to create some inlets and outlets for this to communicate with the rest of the patcher. So I'll type inlet for my toggle to start and stop the metronome. I'll type another inlet, which is the speed argument to the metro, and you can see them adding ones and twos, which will change if I change the left-right order. But I'm thinking about what happens in this patch, and then the percentage of probability, which is the argument to this less than. And then so the result of this is it will send a bang message if the condition is true. I'm going to go ahead and put a button inside the patch just so I can see it, and then create an outlet. And you see each time I create one of these things, it shows up here in the probability object that's in the main patcher. So even though the indicator says I need to save it, that's going to be saved with the whole patch. I can close this right now. And I can hook up these things, speed and probability percentage, to my probability patch. Now I can bring this up and hook this up, and if I lock the patch, should be able to still get the same thing that I was getting. And I do, I can see here that it's playing a note. Now, there's another way, and I'm going to use that. It's a little bit simpler. I'm going to move the things I want to keep outside the patch. I want to see this button light up when I'm getting notes. I want to see the drunk step size so I can change that. The rest of that is kind of internal. And so I can select this part, these objects, which is the drunk, its output, and the table. And then with them selected, I can go into Edit, Encapsulate, and that now creates a patcher object with the appropriate inlets and outlets. Anything that is connected to something not selected creates an inlet or outlet. I still want to go in and add a name. So this is my mapping part of my subpatch. Bring this up. And you can see how I'm condensing the overall real estate and flow, but everything is still there. If I lock my patcher, both of these patcher objects will open up if you double click them. And you can see it has inlets and outlets already made. And I can continue to interact, play it, and change the speed. Percentage of probability, so let's make it happen far less often. Gradually get it back up to where it was. And I can change the drunk step size, say -5. Change the step size, go back to say -3. And I can do one last thing if I'm going to keep with this. I don't need to see all of this. So I'm going to take that argument out. I want the note production to be its own subpatcher. So again, I selected everything. I can go to Edit and Encapsulation. I can go with the right click, get a contextual menu, which doesn't do it. Or I can do Shift Command E, which is the keyboard shortcut. So when you go in, when you click in an object to name it, it immediately selects the P. Don't erase the P. You have to click to the side, because then if you do that, your objects will go away. You need to do a Command Z to undo, or Control Z to undo. So I'm going to call this one Note Output. Now I've reduced the whole thing to this easy to read, easy to follow essentials. Still have my interacting user interface elements on the outside, so I can start it. I can change the transposition, change it back. I can see that notes are playing. It would be good probably to see the note coming out of this, so I'm going to edit and type in an integer, and if you hold down the shift key while dragging it in, this is my Y value coming out of the table. And so I'm getting enough feedback to know that this is working as I get through. And I don't need to see the make note and note out, just the things I want to interact with. So I've really shrunk this up from what I was dealing with, and makes it a lot easier to flow and to think about the sections of your program as subparts of a larger program. So that's where I'm going to stop for this. Get this uploaded, get this version of the patch so you can see it. Thanks.